I think the practical question for the business owner isn't what role do I cut? Instead, it should be what tasks inside each role need to change.
Bringing in AI and automation is fantastic because in the same way that you're using it, AI can provide the right information in a much more efficient way, but there's got to be oversight.
Those businesses that are adopting and adapting with AI, they're the ones that are coming out successful at the moment. It's not deleting jobs, it's redesigning them. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Affordable Staff Podcast. Here we are another month. How many months are we in now? As I actually on the spot.
I'm challenged to work out what day of the week it is. I have no idea. I can't
remember what episode we're on. Well, welcome to this episode.
15?
15, 16? If we count the one that we did with Seth, because that counts as an episode, because we did skip a month, which we didn't skip a month.
That was probably a pretty significant busy patch.
Yes.
So I was very thankful for Seth supporting us with our journey of the podcast.
Yes. And how have you been, Lisa?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Busy but busy for all of the right reasons, as I say.
We're going to talk about... Sorry?
How are you?
How am I? I'm good. I'm good. Lots of exciting things happening at the moment, especially in the future of the business, which is all really good stuff. I think that, when I graduated high school, I was a number of moons ago, I was one of the first people accepted into Infotech specializing in AI. So I've been following the journey. I'm obviously in my early 30s now, so that wasn't that long ago, plus some. So I've been following the AI journey now for quite a few years, and suddenly every man and their dog talks about it like they know what it is, and it's really interesting. And I reluctantly delivered you some concepts around us talking about AI because it's just so spoken about every single day. I was driving here and I had someone ring me up and they said, "Oh, we have such and such." I can't remember what their name is, and they're holding a talk about business growth strategies through AI. I was like, "Who's the person? Sorry." And it's like, "In such and such." Do they actually have any experience in AI? Oh, well, they can spell it, I guess. That's a start. And it turns out, well, only recently, but everyone's becoming a specialist in it. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk a little bit through AI and the impact that it's having globally.
Mm-hmm. Like chalk and cheese. For our audience, I am not tech savvy, but it's certainly, I'm probably going to reflect on some of the clientele and even just networking people that have gone through the journey somewhat similar to myself. Being of contrast to people that understand the concept of AI and even just the basics of technology. I've progressed. I certainly lean upon and utilize AI and technology far greater than I did many, many years ago. So it's nice to see the journey of our business partnerships, even internally, how we've progressed with AI. So this is going to be really interesting, David, because for those that are listening that sit within my camp, where AI is still new and we're trying to learn how to make our roles and our jobs and our lives easier, versus someone like you who uses it in a very different way.
Yes. So I'm a heavy user. It's really interesting, and we were saying just before we push the record button that I get asked multiple times a week, like every conversation where someone knows what we do, like, what about the future of outsourcing? Aren't you scared?
It is a very, very common question.
And then if you extend that beyond, like Australia is actually resistant to AI adoption in comparison to a lot of other countries. I think we're one of the lowest adopters because I think there are a number of factors, especially around the concern as to whether or not it's going to replace their jobs. And you are seeing a lot of large tech firms that are laying off thousands of people, and that generally isn't attributed to AI. It's attributed to a change in the marketplace and a change in the way that things are happening. And the funny thing is that I was looking at a stat recently that's talking about companies that are rehiring people that they did lay off because they thought that the concept of AI was going to replace their jobs. Now, this is a US stat, but generally the US, whatever happens to the US generally flows down to Australia. So around 32% of US managers who eliminated a role because of AI have silently rehired for it. So it's what's interesting is that there's a lot of stories around AI destroying jobs and all that sort of stuff. I guess the way that I think I've spoken about this on previous episodes beforehand, the same way that the icebox, when that was created in the early 1900s, people were terrified that the icebox was going to destroy jobs. And prior to that, you used to have to dig up big blocks of ice like the size of this table. Then they'll cover them in sawdust, and then they'll put them onto a train, and they'll transport them onto a boat, and then they all around the world. That's how they were transporting ice back in the day. The ice that you put in your drinks.
David, you mentioned you went to school in what year? Icebox.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's the icebox. When the icebox was created, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to destroy all these industries," and blah blah blah. All it does is create new industry.
It certainly does. And I think AI is obviously what we're talking about now. But if you reflect on some of the other, I'm going to say the progressional changes that have been made in the different spaces that we've worked in. If we go back to, I'm going to speak real estate. Rockend was the founding partner, or one of the founders of CRMs within real estate space, and we had Rest. Now, when the cloud-based platforms were first launched, and then they started to enhance and grow through automation, there was naturally a lot of resistance to that type of change, because in the same way we're talking about now, there was apprehension around, is it going to tick the boxes in the way that it needed to, removing that human element. So that was through tech advancements, which I suppose is somewhat AI, but this is very, very different. It's taking a lot more automation, a lot of the thinking. But I think we talked about this. It was either last or the podcast prior, that it's still really important, and I certainly use AI a lot. It's still really important to know. You've got to know what you want it to talk about. Or what you need to vet it to make sure it's right. And that's why I can understand why we're looking at the US stat and rehiring, because they're the subject matter experts. All of a sudden you've got more productivity within these people, because they don't need to actually do the grunt work. They just need to oversee it and manage it and be that, I suppose, the vetting process.
Yeah, and that's the key point, right? The population of America is considerably larger than the population of Australia. So they're again, they have a larger test case of people that they can use to ascertain how something's going or a direction something's going. And, Australia, I know we think we're, the big important Australia. We were at the most recent Commonwealth Games. We got all the medals, which was good. Haha. But realistically, we are a relatively small country. And the funny thing, and this is where my mind was going, COVID happened, right? Who was the biggest CRM around that time that were server-based?
No, you're testing me. Server-based.
Yes, they'll go and set up a little server inside your office. It would sit there. Property Me, obviously, they did really well. Console Console at the time. So Console, everyone was using server-based Console. Property Me and Property Tree came in, and they started like smashing the marketplace, if you call it that. And then when Console used to be the primary or the main CRM people were using within their businesses, that shifted and that focus shifted. Console now, a lot of people don't know, if you're with Telstra and you've got a new number recently, that's through Console. So they're changing from Siebel, which they've been nerd stuff. Sorry. They're changing from Siebel, which when Eva first was working in Telstra, Eva, the COO and wife, she was rolling out Siebel at the time, and then Console changed to Console Cloud. They couldn't hold as much a strong footprint in the marketplace, in the real estate space. So now they've diversified into other spaces, which leads me into, if you don't make the change, right? Kodak didn't make the change. Blockbuster didn't make the change. Blockbuster at a point in time, a lot of people know this, but Blockbuster at a point in time had the opportunity to buy Netflix, but they chose not to because...
I read that actually not that so long ago.
Yeah, and that was when Netflix was a subscription service where you would, unlike like old-fashioned video stores, a lot of the revenue they made were on late fees. Because people would constantly be late. Netflix changed the entire model, flipped it upside down, and said, mail order a disc, we'll send the disc out to you, you send it back when you're ready. And because of the cost base, they didn't have physical stores, so it wasn't expensive. That's how Netflix were at that time. Blockbuster had the opportunity to acquire, and they chose not to. And then we all know what happened to Blockbuster, unfortunately. I used to love going to Blockbuster stores.
Friday nights.
Yes.
Try and get the new releases.
I know, right? Get them first. But now you have a look at, and the reason I'm talking about this is I'm going around this big arc is those businesses that are adopting and adapting with AI, they're the ones that are coming out successful at the moment, because there's the fear of AI deleting jobs, but it's not deleting jobs. It's redesigning them.
Enhancing them. We were talking about this a couple of podcasts ago, and I think that I've certainly noticed a bit more of a trend within clientele redesigning or creating new roles within the VA space, and it's a shared change between local and offshore, but it's creating so much more efficiency. I certainly felt that there's been less apprehension behind it, but people are starting to ask more questions, which I think is very good.
Yeah, and it was actually research that was held from JLL that argued the dominant effect of AI is so far is reshaping the roles rather than their elimination. Tasks are getting redistributed, and the shape of a job changes around the person doing it. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this on a previous episode, but the what industry is that? The radiology. They started to introduce AI into radiology, and the whole industry started to freak out, because they're like, oh, you're gonna get rid of all the radiologists. The radiology industry is the biggest it's ever been, and there's a shortage of radiologists because the AI has changed the way that radiology works, and has changed the way that you're able to look at a scan. And AI is able to identify things that a radiologist who would have to sit there looking at however many scans that he could look at, or she could look at in a day, it's exponentially increased, and it's changed how they're actually looking at the scans. So instead of them having to sit there and stare and, okay, what's this? This is my opinion. It's like, these are the things that you need to be aware of.
And
so
start prescribing.
Yeah.
That would hopefully mean shorter wait times at doctors.
Yeah, see, have you actually noticed, and I've noticed lately, it's not something that I go through all the time, but I went to the doctor recently, and the first thing they said is, are you okay for me to AI transcribe this?
Wow, I haven't had that.
Yes. So this is my family doctor. He's like in his late 70s. Should have retired years ago, but he's choosing not to. And we sat down, and he said, do you mind if I AI transcribe? And I was like, sure.
I love this.
I should have asked how he keeps the information secure, but none of my information has leaked, and anything that would leak is really not that exciting anyway, so I don't care. So I think that the next point that I wanted to make is that I remember when we first started and we're at our first conference, and I've said this in previous episodes, when I had someone come up to me and they're like, how dare you? You're taking all the jobs. And I was like, that person's live, they can hear you.
That's a real person on the screen.
Yes, Jackie at the time, and she's since married and moved to the US and had kids. Good work, Jackie. And back then, it was thought as being something that the big businesses did. And I remember that person, and I had a number of people coming up to me saying, what you're doing is going to destroy the industry. And I was like, do you bank? Yes, I bank. Okay, do you ever ring up to get support? Yes, branches are shrinking, so yes, I do. Okay, who answers the phone? Oh, it's someone from India. I was like, okay, so are you now going to take all your money out of that bank and move it to another bank? And they're like, oh no, it's too difficult, or it's convenient, or I like that bank. And at the time, okay, so do you have a mobile phone? Yes, I do. Okay, so who do you think runs all that in the background? Oh, I didn't really think about that. So it was considered to be something that only big business did, and it was like 90% of Fortune 500 companies use some form of outsourcing. But the interesting thing about it is that of all the industries that are using outsourcing, Australians punching way above its weight.
I did read that. It makes sense.
And in comparison to other countries, in comparison to the UK and the US, we punch above our weight when it comes to outsourced services for small to medium businesses. So the industry is continuing to grow. Since the launch of ChatGPT, the Philippines offshore industry has actually grown much bigger. Employment services and IT and business outsourcing is up by 20%, and revenue is up by 30%. So it's showing and this is why I wanted to discuss it today, because I'm listening to so many people. Elon Musk isn't helping anyone, talking about how everything is going to be destroyed and how we're going to die, Terminator style. And in reality, what I'm seeing and what we're seeing, because we get to see volume by numbers, right? Because we have a decent number of people that we have working with us. We get to see how it can change. We get to see how new people that are coming in through our fantastic 7-step recruitment process, new people that are coming through, how they're being introduced to AI, how they're able to see it straight away from the ground up as a new tool, something that they can benefit from, and something that can enhance and empower them to do a better job in their role.
I've certainly noticed that when we're introducing new talent to clients, they do have a greater sense of just being more confident and more empowered. And I think that if we're able to provide that level of experience and exposure to the team, then it's going to provide them a greater level of satisfaction within their role.
Yeah, and I think if there's a key takeaway from today, as a business owner, I think that the practical question for the business owner isn't what role do I cut. Instead, it should be what tasks inside each role need to change, because and like you said, I am a reasonable level AI user across multiple different tools that I use, and what I've found is I still have my support people that I have around me. That hasn't changed, but now I have access to a greater volume of information that I've ever had beforehand, sorted in a way where it's giving me the right information that I need so I can make the decisions. I'm not getting AI to make any decisions for me, and I'll never ever get it to do that because thank you to AI, just in case they do take over the world, like Elon Musk was suggesting. But in reality, it just provides me with information. It does not make a decision for me, and that's what the human does. Is the human makes the decision.
I think that's important when we think about the virtual assistant space. Bringing in AI and automation is fantastic, because in the same way that you're using it, AI can provide the right information in a much more efficient way, but there's got to be oversight. And I think we were at a conference yesterday, and there are a number of conversations around AI and how it is enhancing productivity, but it's really important that the people that are using it make sure that they know what they're looking for. And it's funny, I reflect on a couple of emails I've received over the last few weeks from people that are clearly using AI, which I'm very encouraging of it, but they forget to remove certain things where it says...
The M dash.
Oh, M dash is... They're 101.
Or the bit at the end where it says, this is the best angle I think you could take.
If you would like to make this more soft towards Lisa, please let me know. I was laughing with affection.
Yeah. And I think that's really one of the keys, right? Is understanding how to use. And I think if we wrap it up, industry is not shrinking. Industry is reorganizing. I think that's really the key.
I think that definitely is the key. And if you think about the way in which we have provided service to clients, let's call it a 40-hour week, our clients are now set to receive more bang for their buck.
Yeah. And those are the firms and the businesses, small to medium businesses, that I think, if I use the S word, struggle, I'm challenged by the word. If you're treating it purely as a cost-making decision, as opposed to a benefit model of how it's going to work, how it's going to benefit you, I think those are the businesses that are struggling at the moment and are challenged by it at the moment. I'm still surprised, considering the years of exposure that I have had towards AI. I'm still surprised when I go out and I talk to decent-sized businesses, and they haven't done anything and yeah, I spoke to a third-generation business about 2 weeks ago, and I was just talking to them about they're a bricks and mortar business, and I was just talking to them about outsourcing, which is now becoming a concept for them. And then I started talking to them about AI, and I could just see their eyes glazed over, and they had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, wow, businesses like that, they're the ones that if they're not going to adapt and adopt, they're the ones that are going to be the Blockbuster, the Kodak. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening in. There were a whole lot of little tidbits that were in there. I think the one of the interesting things, and this is just nerd talk now. It's been interesting watching OpenAI and OpenAI and Anthropic, so ChatGPT and Claude. It's been interesting to watch the trend shift because OpenAI had a higher valuation at a point in time, so ChatGPT was worth more than Claude. That's now shifted. That's now shifted where Claude now has a higher market valuation, and Anthropic is predicted to be to hit the $1 trillion valuation very, very soon. They're at like 960 something million, so they're very close to hitting $1 trillion valuation. And I am hearing a lot more people. Like I used to go out and talk to people about just in general conversations, because the AI stuff just comes up all the time. And it was like, oh yeah, I just asked I just asked my chatty to do that. And now it's like when I'm talking, they're like, yeah, I just asked my Claude to do that. I'm like,
I've
interesting.
noticed that change as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's through, as we've talked about a number of times, people being exposed to it. I was very much a ChatGPT user when I became exposed to it, prior to just being involved with other people using it and seeing what it was capable of. And now transition across to using Claude. I still use both, and I think you do too. There are different ways in which you can take full advantage depending on your workplace and your day-to-day need. I certainly think that there is a place for both, but Claude has certainly enhanced the way in which I think businesses can work, certainly the way that I work.
Yeah, and I agree. Of the two, I prefer because I physically talk to both of them as well when I'm driving. I personally prefer ChatGPT. They've upgraded the voice functionality recently. And when I'm having conversations, I want to feel like I'm having a conversation, like a conversation where someone's trying to be nice to me. Claude is really direct. And it's very, very direct, and it's more about, okay, here's the facts. Whereas when I'm talking, I want it to, take more things into account. They're conversational.
I actually really like the latest enhancements that with chat you can actually interrupt it like you're actually having a conversation with a person, which is great because sometimes it can misinterpret what you're actually asking, and you used to have to wait for it to finish. But now you can say, actually, no, hold on, I was actually asking about this rather than that. That is progression.
Yeah. Anyways, if you have any questions, if you're listening to the podcast or watching the podcast and you have any questions, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can also listen to it on Spotify, around AI and AI adoption, then reach out and have a conversation with me, apparently.
Definitely, David, if you want to go into the detail side of things. But if you are at entry level and asking some basic questions or have just the foundational, certainly welcome to having a chat, because I can probably talk your language. When you want to go to the next level up, I might have handball you.
Yeah, when you have your resident nerd wanting to explore it, just pass them on to me.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Well, good to see you again, Lisa. Look forward to catching up next month.
Sounds good.
Wherever we are, and yeah, talk again soon.
Thank you, everyone. See you next month.
Bye.